Gods and Game Masters, this is Internet Personality Vangelus, and I've only bought one SH Figuarts entry from the world of Kamen Rider Xaid, and of course it's Kuroto! This is Kamen Rider Genmu, level X, the dangerous zombie driven by the data of death. Naturally, he was a Tamashii web exclusive because Dragon Knight Hunter Z totally deserves a full retail release. On the bright side, being somewhat made to order means few corners were cut on the asymmetrical armor of this fan-favorite design. Every demented detail I could ask for has been rendered on the SH Figuarts Genmu X, from the skeletal, bony carapace pieces, to the tatter-shredded undersuit design, to the full metal spinal column, to the friggin' techie greeble behind the Super Saiyan helmet hair. The bug visor is glorious, with the spooky zombie marionette display filled out in full despite its tiny size. The chest readout is a fantastic piece of on-figure printing, and the clear pectoral piece over top even has sculpted cracks laid into its surface. Genmu's dangerous zombie helmet is everything I wanted, with the red visor properly cracked and broken on one side, and a silver-painted texture underlay beneath the exposed blue optic. Also, the silver paint looks so burnished, I briefly thought there were polished die-cast pieces on this guy. Sadly, there are not. But like I said, major bonus points for the delivery on the silver, and maybe a few demerits for the delivery on the white parts. I know it's technically show accurate, but several of the white armor parts are begging for a bit of subtle shading, and several of the white painted parts were a little chippy looking right out of the box. I'm not going to be surprised if Kuroto picks up a few more visible scratches from regular posing and play. And hopefully by the time that really starts to happen, if it does happen, I won't just be unsurprised, I'll be super okay with it. Kuroto's head is ball socket connected, and the base of his neck is also ball socket connected. This means that despite the huge helmet size and the big collar, you can avoid a lot of collision. It took a bit for those joints to loosen up on my copy, but now that they're all fine and dandy, it's no problem. These things can wiggle up and down because they're just pegged in, and that one really likes to fall off when I wiggle it up and down. Also, this is a first, that thing falling off caused the half gashet down here to pop out. That's something we're going to talk about later on. The shoulder pads both have this clip-on hinged connection, and that means that, like, this one you can do it really easily. This one's a little bit tighter, but it means they can get out of the way when you move the shoulder joint outwards like this. However, this one especially, if you move the shoulder forwards, which you can also do, I would not then do this, because then the size of the back of his armor makes this thing a lot more susceptible to popping off. I'd recommend, if you want to do something like that, move it up first, then back a bit, then use the bicep swivel, which is another joint that's in here. Also, the whole shoulder is connected with a ball socket roll. There's not a whole ton of room in there, but it is roll-able. There's a double-jointed elbow with that kind of curl, and a Figuarts wrist joint, which means a ball socket connection on the hand, and then a hinge and peg into the forearm. There's a mid-torso joint, which has a decent bit of roll. The thing I'm worried about, though, is this stuff scratching the white paint that's there. I don't know if that's going to be a problem over time. There's also a ball socket connection on the waist, which is handily covered by the jostling belt, and so you get a pretty good range on the waist and torso, especially, again, given the bulkiness of the chest piece here. The hips use this style of Figuarts jointery. It can kick forward and backward, and then on a separate joint inside this hip bit, you can go outwards about that far. And then these little rings here are ball socket jointed on. That means you can wiggle them a bit or just straight up rotate them up out of the way if you want to get a full kick outwards like this. So he can't quite do like the full-on splits, but he gets a close enough approximation and gets a smoother look by having the contained style of Figuarts hip. There's a thigh swivel, a double-jointed knee that curls properly, and then down here you've got a forward-backward hinge, a rotation at the top of the ankle, and then a tilt. And then naturally, this is SH Figuarts, there is a toe joint for when you want a toe. The poseability on this dude is fine. It's really good, truth be told. It just has the small limitations caused by the armor design, and I don't like the solution on the shoulder pads because it's one of the ones that's really easy to just fall off if it gets caught in between a rock and a hard place. Also, the shape of his shoes gives him a problem I had with the First Order Stormtrooper, where it's not like it's hard to get him standing, but something about his standing base just doesn't play super nice with slightly uneven floors. And I think that if the silver-painted shoes had actually been die-cast metal shoes, that would have added the tiny bit of weight he'd need to stand super solidly every time he put him down. As it is, I often have to twiddle around a little bit with him and make sure that all of his joints and ankles and everything are just right and level with the ground. It's a small annoyance, but it's worth mentioning on an otherwise fine bit of Figuarts Poseability. SH Figuarts' dangerous zombie includes no small Gashat accessories, but the half Gashat in his belt can be removed. It feels almost antagonistically easy to lose, and only does this to be plugged into weapon sockets that I will probably never engage with. Speaking of weaponry, he also includes the Gashicon Sparrow. This piece is blazingly painted in Kamen Rider Laser's signature colors, and also features a removable Chanbara half Gashat, which is similarly nigh antagonistically easy to lose. Full antagonism comes in the split-apart gimmick, which readily happens all the time. Look at that. The two weapon pieces are held together by a removable joining tab that is straight up rudely easy to lose and often fails to do its job. Luckily, Genmu is really good at solidly popping his hands on and off, because he comes with a total of 6 pairs of hand options. I'm super happy that each option comes in a matching pair, and each pair features gorgeous asymmetrical paintwork, with the left hands done in pure silver, and the right hands all carefully detailed with high-contrast white paint. Kuroto starts off with a pair of fists, because punching and doing Iron Man landings is an SH Figuarts staple, god damn it. Next up are relaxed hands, with a gradual curl as you approach the pinky finger. Great stuff for casually rising from an insignificant game over. Genmu gets aggressive with his third pair of hands, which are all open-clenched to rip and tear through impeding henshin special effects that might stand between you and your prey. The fourth pair of hands are hell of Kuroto hands, for being all kooky and Kuroto, with the outer fingers extended and the inner fingers curled into a proper zombie karate posture. Fifthly, there are vaguely pointing hands, which are in fact meant to wield the combined form of the Gashicon Sparrow, you know, when it isn't popping itself in half. The final pair of hands are more straightforward grippers, which are perfect for holding the handles of the separated Gashicon Sparrow weapons, or motorcycles, I guess. Motorcycles are apparently a Kamen Rider thing. Dangerous Zombie is looking to be another SH Figuarts Melon Energy Zangetsu, with his limited release and staggering popularity causing his price to steadily skyrocket within weeks of his first shipment. And despite the slim packaging, he very thankfully makes use of his Tamashii web exclusive status to secure some serious milestones in tooling and paintwork. The fact that every single right hand has small separate white applications on the knuckles and finger segments is some bang for your buck all by itself, and I adore the way that the suit was rendered as asymmetrically as it needed to be. I'm just disappointed by the rickety Gashicon Sparrow weapon, frightened by the tiny pop-out half-Gashats, and sighing loudly at the quality of some of the larger white paint applications. Also, his shoulder pads have popped out about 3 times beyond my day 1 shoulder pad poppage tolerance limit. By no means deal-breaking critiques on a still excellent figure, but when you're looking at a steadily rising aftermarket price if you didn't drop a pre-order on this guy, I think it's important to know every potential fault that could besmirch the body of a soon-to-be god. Right now, I'm not sure what my SH Figuarts Exade lineup will be, but this was my first purchase, and I feel very happy with my current goal of at least going Genmu complete. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and of course the next Genmu is a Tamashii Nations exclusive that's priced up by a personal vehicle pack-in. Nobody ever said walking the path of godhood would be easy.